Hello everybody, I'm Doomhammer, and welcome to World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth. Today I'm going to be doing what's called the Blood Elf Heritage Armor quest line. Heritage Armor is a very special kind of armor that you're able to use the appearance of in transmogrification at level 1 as long as you have obtained it previously. You do it on what's called allied races, which the only way to get are by doing these very special quest lines and rep grinds to get armor and then leveling to level 110. But on a character like Blood Elf, which has a very specific set of armor for that race, you're able to obtain as long as you hit level 120 and are exalted with Silvermoon. So, I long ago obtained Exalted with Silvermoon City, which is the faction of the Blood Elves, and I have previously obtained this armor on alt, but I'm going to be doing it today for YouTube.
Victory lies ahead.
Commentary, so forgive me if I'm a little rusty. Champion, I am here on behalf of Lorthmar Theron in the city of Silvermoon. The Regent Lord asks for your assistance with a ceremony of great importance to our people. He requests that your presence at the earliest convenience.
Be ready for anything. Our enemies will fall.
Today I'm playing it on my Blood Elf Paladin, and we're going to see how this goes. Thankfully they have this little portal room here that allows you to go directly to Silvermoon City. I can just find the right portal.
We have made many sacrifices.
Hilari, just in time. Every year we ask a champion of our people to perform an act of remembrance in honor of those who fell to the Scourge. Leilidrin has performed this ritual, as have I, among others. This year, I am honored to give the task to you. The Regent Lord hands you an ornate lantern. This lantern carries a flame born in the Sunwell. I would ask that you bring it to locations that were significant to the fall of the Sunwell and Quoth and to light the memories we cannot forget.
I will accompany you on your journey through the Ghostlands. Meet me in Tranquillium.
So it's actually on your side here. That's the lantern. So the story of the Blood Elves is basically during what's called Warcraft 3. The Undead Scourge came into Quoth, which is this region in the Kingdoms, which comprises Eversong Forest, the Ghostlands, and the Isle of Koldanas. And their leader, Arthas Menethil, former prince of the Kingdom of Lordon, came in and he tried to fight his way through Silvermoon and Old Koldanas to get to what's called the Sunwell, which is this impossibly powerful font of power. And he succeeded. He wiped out most of what were called then the High Elves. They later reformed into a group that they called themselves the Blood Elves, and they had to end up destroying the Sunwell because of the corruption that came with it, due to what Arthas did to it. And this
Glory
quest
to
line
the Sindor
in part covers that story of the destruction of the Sunwell and its corruption and the fall of Quoth. So that took place in the story of the game about 10 years ago, I think? 9 to 10 years ago. And so now we're getting to replay through those events. Oh, yeah. It's a pretty long flight into the Ghostlands, so. And here we are in Tranquillion, which is in the Ghostlands, which was the land most ravaged by the Scourge during Warcraft 3,
Baladash,
during the
Malanor.
Third War. So I will never recover from the damage that was done here, but we lost so much more than land that day. As long as the southern wall separated Quel'Thalas from the once great kingdom of Lordaeron, we did not believe that anyone could breach it, that overconfidence was our undoing. When the Scourge arrived, the gate was not conquered by force, it was willingly opened by a traitor. Though caught unaware, every Farstrider soldier and magistrate in the area rushed to the defense of our homeland. Very few of them returned home. The gates now stand as a memorial in their name.
Aldiel Shalah.
That's the first line. Oh, and Waldemar's going to follow us along for the ride. So he references a character that betrayed the Blood Elves, and that was a character called Darkon Drathyr. And he, in-game, resides in Deathholm down here, and you kill him in a quest line. Actually obtain the sword, and I but yeah, he basically wanted the power of the Sunwell for himself, and he let Arthas into Quel'Thalas, and also told Arthas how to break down the barriers around the Sunwell, so he could Silvermoon City, so he could just barge on in, basically unopposed completely. Ghostlands are just this wide zone that we're just so, like I said, we're so destroyed by the undead that it's never going to recover. You can see it's like all these trees have these weird, sickly green growths on them. And so if you look over there, that's Deathholm, massive Scourge city. We'll be going back there in a second. Plaque here. In honor of those whose blood was shed to secure the survival of our people. Though the eternal sun may set on our darkest day and rise again with the coming of the dawn.
This is where the end began. My company was patrolling the forests near Zulaman when we received word of a Scourge invasion. We were wholly unprepared for what we encountered. Quel'Thalas had enjoyed years of idyllic peace, and suddenly, we were facing death itself. I lost my eye in that battle, and would have lost my life were it not for Haldoran. Words cannot describe the devastation our people suffered that day. That any of us survived to tell the tale was a miracle. One that we cannot afford to waste. I proudly serve as Regent Lord. We find strength in the Horde.
So, another thing to note is that Lord Thamar here is marked as the Regent Lord of Quel'Thalas, and that's because the last Prince of Quel'Thalas, whose father died during the Third War, decided that that his father would be the last king, calling himself just Prince of Quel'Thalas. He ended up going insane and teaming up with the Burning Legion, which were the army of demons that created the Scourge in the first place, that destroyed Quel'Thalas. They did it at Kil'jaeden's orders, and we later ended up killing Kil'thas, and at this point Kil'jaeden's dead as well. But so Lord Thamar Thoron, rather than taking up the title of king, has forever chosen to wear his then title of Regent Lord, because he watched over Quel'Thalas while Kil'thas was out. Yes, mobs here are level 61. That's got a cool effect right there. Here's the recreation of that battle. Gonna ride around here and show off a little bit. Children Defenders. I believe there's some main characters here. Yeah, there's and Defender Silver Song. I know this is Dark Ranger Villanova. All of these characters later became undead and decided with the Horde. That is Arthur's Minifilm. Literally. I have this. Oh! I forgot the will two-shot you, so I guess that's a good way of showing that can happen. Yeah, don't get too close to Arthas at any time. Yeah, I thought I was being careful. Always shows they can be more careful than you are attempting to be. So the first fight here, like I said, was a slaughter, and so all the named NPCs there die during this battle, and are later raised by the Scourge, and later joined what are called the Forsaken. And the Forsaken are undead who signed up with the Horde. They are free from the Scourge's control, and some of them try to live out their former lives, but now undead, it kind of makes things complicated. A lot of their former family do not accept them, and a lot of them also feel just great disdain for the living in general, so they end up trying to do the same thing as the Scourge, often killing thousands of people at a time using what is called the Nuke Light, which is basically like a giant radioactive gas that they unleash, or slime that they unleash that destroys everything and everyone in its path, regardless of living or dead. And now I'm gonna stop going around and actually kill them. I'm actually a long time. Oh, interesting. It's getting the hero. They look like but I'm doing this at more quarantine. It's actually pretty higher than it was when it intended to be done. As I'm doing this expansion. This is actually doing a kill. Surprisingly, no voice acting from Martha.
The eternal sun still guides us. What I do for Quel'The.
The next summary. Forgive me, for many of our people, it was then we realized that was coming for us. The memorial to a particular defender lies in the light of fight for home. The light there has no doubt attracted some of the area's lingering souls. Clear them out and
We are a nation on the rise.
So where we're going is called Windrunner Spire, which is the one-time home of Sylvanas Windrunner, who is at this point still the leader of the Forsaken. She was, well, I guess we're gonna see the events of that happen. But at this point in the expansion, she is no longer a member of the Horde. She has gone off on her own, and we already know she's going to be the main villain of the next. She's going to be one of the main villains in the next expansion of Shadowlands. So I need to kill 6 tormented rangers. Rangers are just basically they're hunters, they're archers. They some of them use pets, some of them don't. These ones are level 60. They're not. So there we go. Ah, no, let's get that.
Closer.
These are banshees, which are typically elven women who were corrupted by the Scourge, specifically into this form, not just having plants. And just rinsing through these things as I'm just so much higher item level, and this was intended to be done. Fine. My blood and son, fallen children of the blood, you're breaking through with children of the blood by the light of the sun. They wrote this to a song of the score this game called Blood of sung by Sylvanas.
Sylvanas Windrunner was our kingdom's protector. Had she and her rangers not met Arthas with such fierce resistance, our people might no longer exist. She paid the ultimate price, so that enough of us might escape to rebuild our fallen kingdom. When Arthas raised her as a banshee and turned her against Quel'Thalas, it broke all our hearts. I've had my share of disagreements with Sylvanas, but I will never forget her sacrifice. She was the Ranger General of Silvermoon. Nothing will ever change that. The beauty of Eversong endures.
Sylvanas and the Forest Riders sacrificed more than most of us. Sometimes I must remind myself of that fact, given the current state of affairs. The Ranger General fell just east of Fairbreeze Village, where she was holding the line to protect the civilians as they retreated to Silvermoon. If it wasn't for her, our people would number even less than we do now. Shine the lantern upon the battlefield, and witness how our forces ultimately broke under Arthas' personal assault.
The light of the Sunwell be with you.
Something that's interesting to be noted is, while a lot of players play Blood Elves, and it seems like there's quite a few of them in-game, what's supposed to be is 90% of them were wiped out by the Scourge during the Third War. And so all we see in-game are 9% of that population, because 1% of them stayed with the Alliance in the end. Chose not being known as Blood Elves, and stayed as High Elves. Most of the Blood Elves joined the Horde instead of their old allies in the Alliance because the Alliance alienated them in a lot of ways with their racism and the fact that Arthas, who was the crown prince of basically the entire Alliance at the time, was the one who destroyed everything they had. Well, that's interesting. These things are still phased in. Huh. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Wow, I didn't even realize I had that all the way going back. Oh, of course, because I would... on day one, this area would have just been full of hundreds of people doing this at the same time, so they had to expand it and make it huge questing area so that people were able to all do the quests at the same time. Thankfully, I can take a quick flight path up to...
Our enemies will fall.
Unlike the rest of the game, these two zones, well, 3 zones, including Isle of Quel'Thalas, you cannot fly in on your flying mounts. You have to do everything on foot. I'm not just running around because I think it's amusing to run out the run time as far as possible. That is not my intention. And oh wow, here's the devastation. So this was the main bulk of their army going up this way in the game, and this is just basically an image of what remained. Quick screen cap. This is Eversong. This is what the Ghostlands used to look like, basically. Which I flew through here before, but you can see some of the trees are still supposed to be dead. This area came out in 2007, so it looks considerably lower resolution than some other aspects of the game, like even this horse I'm riding on, or what that Hawkstarter is riding on, look considerably higher polygon than the entire zone. That's to be expected when this horse was added just 2 years ago, versus this was 13 years ago. Here's
You there, Fast Rider, man a ballista. Provide cover for the retreating civilians.
there's Sylvanas. Oh, she's wielding the bow
Eternal sun still
from
rises.
Emerald Plateau. I think this music is also unique to this scenario here. I've never heard it before.
Take her. Run! And thus fell the Ranger General. So that was part of a longer video called Warbringer Sylvanas, which was basically a small cinematic preview into Battle for Azeroth. Orthmar, having trouble with your cape there?
I proudly serve as Regent
Yeah,
Lord.
the physics for that move around a little too fast, if you ask me. In the words of one of the most poetic retellings, as her defenders fell, with anguish she cried, Shindu Fala na Sindorai. She was a true Ranger General to her last breath. May Silvermoon never forget her bravery in life. I believe that our people are breaking through Children of the Blood. I'm not sure. I have that book on me. If only I had that book on me. There's a book in game that gives a translation to the poem they're referencing, which was read on that plaque earlier in English, which gives a English and Thalassian Blood Elvish translation. With our best defenders defeated and the line broken, Arthas made quick work of Silvermoon's remaining forces and tore through the city. This is where we part ways. I must return to Silvermoon before Haldiron starts sending rangers to search for me. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get away from your city for this long when you're the single ruler in charge of everything. Everything, monarchy and everything but name, I suppose. The Dragonhawk Master in Fairbreeze Village has orders to play with Aldenox. Someone who's more familiar with the events on the island would be there.
Never again shall a king reign in Silvermoon.
I should note that part of the events of this little storyline here take place in a small novella called Blood of the Highborn, which was part of a larger book, which was a compilation of the short stories off the website called Paragons. The novella is actually a very good read, I'd say. It's I think it's 200 pages if you read it on iBooks. Yeah, it's a very good short little read. And
We will
tells specifically
persevere.
from the perspective of Lorthamar and character we're about to meet, of the fall of Silvermoon, which has also been retold in other books and other mediums, like another book called Arthas Rise of the Lich King, which was mostly told from Sylvanas' and Arthas' point of view. So, Blood of the Highborn was basically the first time we got a preview of it from a defender's perspective. Now, this half of Silvermoon City is still supposed to be destroyed, even though honestly it looks still pretty fine. But if you look around, there's rubble everywhere. There's buildings falling apart. This is a low-level question, but as you can see, again, there's more visions of everything on people down the floor as you're flying through here. That's the Blood Omen starting area.
Witness the end, the removal of the final barrier.
That was a little reference to the book's portrayal of Arthas' crossing the Isle of Coldenas, which had him throw his sword Frostmourne into the ocean, and it froze everything for miles around, all the way down, like 100 feet into the end of the water. It was a massive moment, but in Warcraft 3 and in the remake Warcraft 3 Reforged, he just crossed over the Zeppelins. Sadly, this is the only time we ever get to see that played on game, and it's admittedly cool, but it's not nearly as epic as it's described to be. And that is Sunwell Plateau, which was a level 70 raid in Burning Crusade. Final boss is Kil'jaeden, who I talked about earlier. So that's what he looks like. And then Kael'thas Sunstrider, the last prince and king of Quothalas, who we killed in what was called the Eye, but he later returned in a dungeon that's right over there called Amsterdam Terrace, where, to say the very least, his first death did not reflect well on his later appearance and sanity, and the fact that he has a giant crystal sticking out of his chest. But hey, that's just my opinion. He might be able to clean up his act if we hadn't killed him. Unlikely. He will return next expansion though in the Shadowlands, where, well, it's the afterlife and he's being punished for all the horrible, 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 horrible things he did in life. Lovely. And here's Lady Lydrin, the character I mentioned earlier, is also part of the Blood of the Highborn. Are you ready, Hilari? She is the leader. She's the first Blood Paladin, a part of the Blood Knights, which originally they controlled what's called the Holy Light through force by the enslavement of this being called
Fight well.
Muru. Muru. Naru is basically made of pure light, and at this point is when he's transforming into void.
I am the
Because
blade
of
of
all
the
the
light.
torture and stuff like that they put him through. And now the Sunwell is charged through both what's called Arcane, which is generic magic, and the Holy Light, so they don't have to enslave creatures or prey to be able to use the light. They just have it at their fingertips. While the monument here was intended to honor the fallen members of the Shattered Sun, it quickly took on a second meaning for the Sindor. It was not far from here that we lost one of our greatest heroes, Anastarian Sunstrider, the last king of both lots. He led our final efforts against the Scourge and personally crossed blades with Arthas himself. As you remember the sacrifices it took to reclaim this land, also remember the sacrifices made in his
Shorel Aram.
So this was like I said, for the Shattered Sun offensive, which was the Blood Elven Scryers of Outland and the Draenei Aldor of Shattrath, of Outland and Shattrath as well. So it's to reclaim Sunwell Plateau. As you can see, it looks like the Draenei are still here, but I'm not sure if they've been phased. I don't think they're supposed to be here technically lore-wise. It's just they're phased in, but it's supposed to be. The enemy's still here. Okay, the little lady. Yeah. So the only thing that's phased in is this little.
else is just normal.
For thousands of years, the Sunwell meant everything to our people. Arthas dealt us a grievous wound when he defiled it. My faith was shattered when Silvermoon fell. I lost sight of who I was. But by the grace of the light, I found redemption before it was too late. Let this monument serve as a reminder of what it means to be Sindorai. That our every deed may honor the sacrifices of those who came before us. No matter how much pain we endure, we will not lose hope. In the face of darkness, look always to the eternal sun.
So that was a vision of King Asterion, a younger Liadrin, her surrogate father, High Priest Vandalor, who was also her master as a priest because she was a empress before she was a paladin, and also Grandmaster Bellavir, who was basically the magical leader. He led the magical schools and things like that in the military defense of Silvermoon, as much as Sylvanas led the military aspects of it.
Pleasantries can wait.
More physical side, the soldiers and the rangers and stuff like that. Never kept the lives that were lost here, but the scourge into their own misguided cannon. Remember the sun, though. Right into battle with those words for a reason. We lost so much that day. I lost so much that day. Shine the lantern on the southern side of the island, where the Dead Scar meets the sea. There you will see how the fall of the Sunwell began. With it, the last act of the High Elves.
Remain vigilant.
So, sadly, they make you ride all the way to the back, down to the back of the front of the island. I am going to try and set Hearthstone here, so that way I can get back here, because they would have made me ride all the way around this island twice, which I am not okay with. That is stupid. That aspect of this quest was so poorly designed. It's not the only quest line that specifically has us go to this spot, but the fact that they make you go along this extremely long route with almost no roads, mobs everywhere. Like, look at this. If I was doing this at level, I'd have to deal with an army of level 80s, level 70s, because everything scales now. Back in those days, it would have been level 70. Yeah, so that's Sunwell Plateau, which Sunwell is that circle right there, which was used to summon Kil'jaeden, one of the demon lords of the Burning Legion, into Azeroth, the World of Warcraft land, where he tried to bring down creation, and bring down Azeroth, and then on top of that, eventually the rest of the universe. He's a very despicable character. He's Kil'jaeden the Deceiver, corrupter of Blood Elves, the Orcs, or otherwise noble people, and destroyer, one of the destroyers of worlds, basically. He is a very powerful character, and the universe, to say the very least, is better off with him dead is an understatement. If you look out there, you can see the Sun Fury Spire, which is the tallest building in all of Valhalas. It is basically the Sun Palace. Up here is the edge of the Dead Scar, which leads directly into Valhalas. Normally this would be on fire, but they have phased out. Oh, no, fire's there. Okay, there we go. Oh, look, a pit more. There's another demon. At this point, of course, the Burning Legion and Scourge are separate, so you have the Scourge and
That is far enough, Prince Arthas. Your march ends here. Narada Belore! You will burn for your actions.
Very epic fight between Arthas and Frostborn and Asterion, with called Bellamorn, which was this fire and heat that the top one is unability and
and also cost and fused.
Invincible! You may have been formidable once, but I sense your soul fading. Your life force flickering weakly. A flame I will gladly extinguish.
At least I have a soul, you despicable monster!
Not for long.
And thus dies the last High King of both lots. Fun fact in the book, Ministerian didn't just call him a monster. It was considerably more rude about the whole situation, as their very least, but I guess they decided to keep it PG, even though Sylvanas is also often called a much worse word than monster by her enemies, with full voice acting, no less. And so Belmalorn, you see it disappear when he gets slashed at initially, and that's supposed to show it in Broken 2, which Kael'thas later repaired it, and he fought Arthas with it, and it was much stronger the second one he repaired it, because Elven Blades were stronger when reforged. But he later lost it in Ice Crown Sound, and it became the Mage Artifact weapon, or Fire. It's Grand Legion.
I answer to the light.
One final task remains. The flame of the lantern dims. Your final task is to rekindle it. In order to do so, you must walk one remaining path. While we are fortunate to hold the Sunwell once again, we must always remember that it was yet another part of us that Arthas took away. That our late prince was forced to find us a new way of life. Enter the Sunwell Plateau and witness its fall.
Aldiel Shalah.
Yes?
Fight well.
Apparently that's what it
Aldiel
is.
Shalah.
That's right? You can see those are at the time, and Burning Crusades, that's Arthas' army, not Arthas, Kael'thas' army, which he was using to against his own people, take the Sunwell for his master kill Jaden. He had basically turned on everybody he cared about, as did Arthas before, feeling very much like the monster he so hated. Somewhat poetic. By blood remembered, since the last, shine the lantern and start the memories of the fallen. Opening the shrine of the eclipse, gates before the Sunwell. And he runs there with the depth of the time to talk about 4 with a Carbinder. There's Arthas slowly coming to this. Trying to find about an army of the undead is, doesn't matter how many cut down the dead outnumber the living. Arthas is supposed to be almost here, and I'm killing them so quickly. He's barely made it down here at all. Yeah, I can hold on for a second. Nope.
Citizens of Quel'Thalas, I have given you ample opportunities to surrender, but you have stubbornly refused. Know that today, your entire race and your ancient heritage will end.
very famous speech by Arthur at Warcraft.
We need to target something first.
Death itself has come to claim the high home of the elves!
Arthas slaughtered our remaining forces, and used the Sunwell to resurrect Kel'Thuzad as a powerful lich, corrupting its waters beyond salvation. Our people would have soon suffered the same fate had we remained linked to its magic. With a heavy heart, Prince Kael'thas decided to destroy the Sunwell.
Shine the lantern on Kael'thas' decision. I get it.
The time has come. May the light of the sun guide us to the very end.
Sound of cannons. The Amani have landed on the shore. We must hurry.
Cut down enough undead for us to pass, and leave the rest to the trolls. That will buy us the time we need.
As you can see here, you can see people like Lord Martharan in earlier armor.
What has he done?
The soul of our people, now a desecrated font of decay, is worsened with each sunrise.
Liadrin, guard the entrance. Let none pass.
So Leodrin, she goes off.
We shall hold the line until the very end.
Hello?
Salama Ashalanore!
Well here, and I just coming up with speed.
Hero, with me. Protect the Magisters at all costs. We must reach the Sunwell.
He was Leodrin. And then stayed by all the things he had said. And finally broke him when Propaganda reading all of his will and led to that sound of rain, broken glass.
I don't have a target.
Screaming children, which slowly drove him insane. Elijah was forced to kill him. Solinar here was one of the first Blood Knights. Later in Brightwing, he later became Ranger General after Sylvanas. Astelrar, he became the founding member of the Blood Knights as one of the guys. Romach became Freeman of Death Defense. Which happened prior to that. This took place after Arthur's long left in a few weeks, if not a month. Because you'll never be able to see it in this corrupted state again after Oh, there we go. I went to turn the car.
Haunted Sunwell, and it's at the port construction. It's close to the sky at all times. Behind that banner is supposed to be a portrait of Jaden hanging. Nobody's really sure if that was supposed to be there originally, or if it was supposed to be added in Sunwell Plateau, where the Gil'Jaden portrait is.
The ritual appears to be working. Magister, maintain your focus.
That does not look good. Okay, that's really not good.
It is done. Roma, teleport us to safety.
Thus the restored Sunwell, as it will later appear after it was fully restored after it was initially blown
And
up.
so ends the most tragic saga in our people's history. Follow me, champion. It is time to return the lantern to Silvermoon.
I'm still not sure if that's the most tragic, because Kael'thas' betrayal still came up later, and they didn't show it. But, hey, that's the Sunwell. It's beautiful. You used to have a beam going into the sky that was like this huge blinding light, but sadly over the years they dialed it back to this pitiful little stream of light. Here they don't even have that on even. It's kind of disappointing. Still fun picture of that online. Oh, and it mounted me up in the process. Celebrate. I'm gonna ride the very mount I got from Kael'thas years ago. The very rarest mounts in the game. Ooh!
The eternal sun guides us.
Velore Delana, the
These are the
reckoning.
denizens of, well, some of them, of both of Silvermoon. Most of them are trainers. So, we got some Nightborn hanging out. Apache
Glory
here
to the Sindora.
was named after the first person ever hit level 67 on a Blood Elf, the Burning Crusade
Shirelaran.
Alpha. Would have taken place back in 2005.
Always remember that our people are not defined by tragedy, but by our ability to overcome it. From the ashes of the past, we carry the flame of hope into the future. Maladash, Malanore.
I answer to the light.
The
Aldiel
rebuilding
Shalom.
continues.
The Regent Lord takes the lantern from you. It is done.
It is my honor to present you with the regalia of our greatest heroes. Bilono Silaru, Velore Dorai. Rise, champion of the Sindorai.
Now to show off that armor.
I have just the thing. Want that?
Here's what it looks like in its full. There is a version that is... Oh, there's a version that is not the robe, but it just has pants. It's really up to you whichever one
Beware of
you
your
prefer.
teeth.
And that is the Blood Elf Heritage Armor questline. And my first video with commentary ever. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'll see you guys next time.